Hello, welcome to Pop Culture Shark, a live stream about pop culture. I'm Final Monkey.
And I'm Caleb.
Today, we thought it'd be cool to go ahead and rank our MCU movies now that Thor: Love and Thunder is out. There's a
Yeah.
lot of these movies. First, we are gonna try to do them all in one episode. Now I got thinking, even if we only spoke like 3 minutes about each movie, that's like an hour
Yeah.
and a half podcast. So
Yeah. So it's going to be more like either, I think we decide either phase one and phase two or do up to Doctor Strange since that is officially the halfway point.
yeah, we'll kind of see how the time's going today, where we stop.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I personally have not seen all of these. There's a few I haven't seen, so we will take that into account.
Yes. Whenever we get there, I'll be able to explain because I'm a fighting game player, and what we're going to be doing this week is not necessarily just an in order 1 through 27 ranking. It is going to be in the fighting game community what we call a tier list, and they're a lot of fun, and we'll be able to explain that whenever we get there.
Yep. All right, so let's move on to, I was gonna say news, but let's go ahead and do a weekend checkup. Caleb, how's your week been?
It's been pretty good. I'm still in training in my new job, so kind of been chilling and doing that. In terms of pop culture, just because of my job, I really haven't been doing much. I haven't. This will give you some perspective of how much I hate the return to dungeon um, trope in The Legend of Zelda. I still haven't gone back to play Skyward Sword yet.
Gotcha.
It's been about a week or two.
Yeah, I haven't really played any video games either.
Yeah, I've. Oh, you know what? I just watched Last Night in Soho last night. Edgar Wright's movie after Baby Driver. They released it on HBO Max. Fantastic! One of the best movies I've seen in a long time. Do not look at a trailer. Don't look it up. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I think I've seen the trailers for that, but it's been a while.
I mean, the trailers really don't tell you much, but like it's just so cool going into it having no idea.
Yeah. Cool. As for me, I've been to the movies twice this week. Went and saw Jurassic World, was it Dominion or whatever it's called?
Mm-hmm.
I personally am not the hugest Jurassic Park fan. It was all right, I thought it could have been better, but it was fine, and then I went and saw Thor: Love and Thunder yesterday, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on, about whether I liked it or not. And I'm not going to try to get into spoilers, but yeah. So let's move on to news. First news, and we'll just get right into it. Thor: Love and Thunder's box office. Talk about whether it's a success or not. Right now, it looks like it's going to pull in about 143 million in the United States. So you're probably thinking, "Hey, that's a good number." You're probably thinking that's a great number. It's not really.
Yeah, not for a Marvel movie.
No, I mean Doctor Strange 2, which I thought was okay, brought in 187 million opening weekend. So this is definitely like off by 40 million even from Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange is still struggling to even hit 1 billion worldwide. So that's not great for Thor. Although Thor movies typically don't perform that well anyways. I think Ragnarok's probably the exception. But they don't typically perform like the other ones for whatever reason. I don't know why.
Thor, honestly, I don't think has ever been a very successful character, both in the comics and on screen. Even though some the comic stuff, some of it's like the Simonson and Jason Aaron stuff is really good. In a universe of relatable superheroes like Spider-Man, Captain America, Daredevil, all of them, he's not super relatable, honestly. He's probably the closest to a DC hero that Marvel has, in the fact that he's less relatable and more of like an ideal to strive towards,
Yeah.
in like being a god and everything.
Yeah, and I think this movie had some things going against it. Doctor Strange being just okay right before this one. The trailers have not been great for this.
I also think we say it all the time. I think it's actually happening now. I think Marvel fatigue is actually hitting people.
I think the issue is word of mouth is killing these also, and people are like, okay, where are we heading? We knew in the original movies we were heading towards forming the Avengers and then Thanos, and there just hasn't been much to latch onto. It doesn't seem like there's a direction.
Yeah. And even so, like, even Miss Marvel hasn't been doing very well either in terms of viewership.
Yeah, and I saw that coming, not because there's anything necessarily wrong with the show. She is just not a popular character. They have been trying to push her for years, making her the focus of the Avengers video game, and it just never took off.
I actually have a theory as to why it's not doing well. I don't think that Miss Marvel is doing well because Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness came out. Because what happened is people have been watching these shows religiously. I've heard about every single show up until, like, even if I hadn't watched it, I still heard about the show up until Miss Marvel, because that's the first one to come out after Doctor Strange. What I think happened was everyone is watching these shows religiously to get ready for the movies. And the first time a sequel to one of the shows happens, you got WandaVision, and then Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness comes out. And people realized you don't have to watch these shows.
That's a good point.
Yeah. These shows aren't important, so you don't have to spend 6 to 12 hours of your life watching these shows to get the movies that you like.
And if you watch this new Thor movie, you don't have to watch any Thor movie leading up to this. They spend like a little 10-minute montage recapping everything that's happened to Thor since the beginning. And so it's like you don't have to watch any of it.
Now that's just lazy writing.
Yeah. I think the one more thing that's making this movie suffer is Loki is not in it. And Loki has a big fan base, and so you're losing viewers there.
Yes, yeah, and the thing is Loki actually has his own show, and I was actually talking with some people about this. We're coming away from a lot of these earlier Disney Plus shows now, and I think I can confidently say that Loki is the best one, because it only goes up. It only gets better. Like, WandaVision starts out great. It gets better. And then at the end, it kind of slogs. Captain America, Winter Soldier, same thing. Hawkeye, same thing. Moon Knight is a weird fluctuation. But Loki is just one of those shows that gets better and better. And so, unfortunately, the most interesting thing going on in the Thor mythos right now is the Loki Disney Plus show.
I mean, I might disagree with you a little bit on WandaVision. I kind of forgive WandaVision just a little bit. You could tell towards the end of the show that the COVID restrictions kind of wrecked the ending that they had planned. You start seeing that there's characters on the same screen. Stuff starts happening.
Sure, yeah.
So I give that one a little bit of leeway. But yeah, I could see what you're saying. I'm going to try to be as non-spoilery as possible about my thoughts on Thor. I think this is a tone problem with this movie. It's based on the God Bomb story from the comics, where Gore is going to build a bomb that will kill all the gods. And I think he's setting it off at the beginning of time, so we'll just wipe out all the gods. And then they're mixing that with the Jane Foster story, where Jane gets cancer and becomes Thor. So those are two pretty heavy topics, right?
Yes.
So imagine taking those topics and then trying to make a Disney Channel teen movie, and this is what this is. It's what it felt like at times. Like I was watching something a decent movie made for Disney Channel. That's what I felt like.
Yeah, honestly, I finally figured out what it is, and I haven't seen Love and Thunder yet, but for the most part, it looks like Ragnarok, and I don't like Ragnarok. Spoilers for the tier list. But what I think the Thor movies are at this point, because the thing is I tell people that Ragnarok is disrespectful to the source material, and people are like, "Well, I've never read the Thor comics, so it doesn't matter to me." I'm like, "Yeah, but here's the thing. It's also disrespectful to the character they've established in this universe, because this Thor is not the same Thor who slayed the frost giants, saw his mother die, mourned his brother twice, and said, "Bring me Thanos," and decapitated him. This is not the same Thor. And so I believe that the Thor movies at this point are if Spaceballs was canon to the Star Wars universe.
So I'll say a couple more things about Thor. There's almost a good movie here. It's like if they just, for one thing, the movie's less than 2 hours long.
What?
Yeah, it's like an hour 55 minutes.
Really?
If they had added an extra 30 minutes and just set up a couple little things, it'd be a much better movie. So that's one problem. A lot of stuff happens kind of off screen with gore. And I don't know if that was to keep it rated PG-13 or what. So that kind of hurts the movie. And I will tell you this. If you are a big fan of the Guardians of the Galaxy and that's the reason you're going to see this, just watch the trailers because you saw most of their scenes. They are literally like the first 10 minutes and they're gone. And they don't come back. That's it.
Do they at least say the name of Gore's sword? Because it's like the coolest name ever.
I think they call it the Necro Sword. Is that what's called in comics?
It's called All Black, the Necro Sword.
I can't remember if they use that full title.
Oh.
I know they kind of avoid saying symbiotes, but you know that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll be curious to see what you think about this movie. For me, a lot of the jokes just don't work in this movie.
Yeah.
I got a lot to say about this movie, but we'll wait till you watch it.
Yeah. And so the thing that's the worst, and people are telling me that I'm going to hate it. A lot of people are telling me that. But these are people who also don't know that God Bomb is one of my favorite story arcs from the 2010s. If our viewers remember, I actually made you read God Bomb quite a few episodes back, and it's one of my favorite storylines from the 2010s. And so not only is there like, oh, you didn't like Ragnarok, you're not going to like this, but...
And I think that may have hurt this movie, reading that so recently.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm at about a 5 out of 10 on this movie. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's just kind of, mm-hmm. That's where I'm at. And I, like I said, I've got lots to say about this.
Yeah.
I'll say that, everybody loves Korg. He really overstays his welcome in this movie.
I thought he overstayed his welcome in Ragnarok.
Oh, just a real quick question. Did you know Kraglin is now a member of the Guardians of the Galaxy?
Is that the slug thing?
No, that's Meek. Yondu's like second in command, the one that got the little mohawk.
Yeah.
See, I didn't even think he was part of the Guardians now. I just thought, oh, he's going to reform the Ravagers, whatever. I didn't think he's on the team now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's there. He's on the team. So I wasn't even, thinking that. So
yeah. So go ahead and say this: the post credit scene. Are they anything worthwhile?
I'm really, really excited about the first one.
Okay.
Second one's interesting. I'll say this: actually, they're both related to the movie you just saw. I'll just say that.
They're both related to Turbulence 3 Heavy Metal?
Yes, Slade Craven shows up at the end. But yeah, I don't know if you'll. Well, yeah, I think you'll be excited for the first post credit sequence. It's pretty cool.
Okay.
But yeah, we will definitely talk about this if you get to see it next week. Yeah, I think you'll probably rank it somewhere around. Well, you might like it a little bit better than what I'm saying. My wife and kids love the movie. Okay, so I think you're gonna see that. There's gonna be some people that go, "Oh, you know what? That was pretty good," and then some people are gonna be like, "Okay, what is this?" So I'll just say that this is gonna be a very divisive film.
But we're getting to that point where every Marvel movie has been divisive since Black Widow.
Yeah, and so let me say this: why do we care about the box office? I'm really concerned about Disney as a company. They have their hands in everything that I like, almost. Star Wars, Muppets, Marvel, Pixar. They're just in everything, and I don't like the direction the company is heading. I feel like a Marvel movie or a Pixar movie should mean something, and the quality is just not there. So the only way to get better quality is to get their attention and say, "Hey, your movies suck. Do better, or we're not going to give you our money."
Yeah.
And so I want movies like this. I don't want Disney to go bankrupt. I just want to get their attention and say, "Do better." We expect better. Do better. But that's just me. So, all right. In other news, and you said this was going to be was this the rant of the week?
Yes, this is my rant of the week.
All right, rant of the week. Take it away, Caleb.
All right, so for those of you who are uninformed on this subject, Disney. Hey, we're back on Disney. Okay, this actually relates to the box office because Disney as a company. Ever since it's opened, I've wanted to go to Galaxy's Edge. Star Wars is my favorite thing. I'm so excited to go whenever I eventually get to go. On the flip side, they've started this thing called Galactic Star Cruiser. Now, Galactic Star Cruiser is a 2-night hotel event where you pay $5,000 for 2 people, and you spend 2 days on this sort of Galactic Star Cruiser hotel thing, and you just kind of experience a Star Wars adventure as if you were in a ship.
It's a very expensive LARPing experience.
Yes. In addition to that, they have a $5,000 alcoholic beverage called the Kyber Crystal. And Disney is out here wondering why these are not successful. They are not doing as well as originally thought. And I think that just shows how out of touch Disney actually is. Like, hey, we've got this 2-night glorified hotel stay for $5,000, and we have this alcoholic beverage, also $5,000, that comes in the ice cream machine from Empire Strikes Back. What do you say? You know what? I think I'm good. Why isn't this doing well?
I feel like Disney is almost doing like a free-to-play model with some of their stuff, where it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna lose money over here, but we'll make it up for all the whales that are gonna buy all the DLC, and this is kind of like their DLC of, hey, go to the we'll get some rich people that are just gonna spend crazy money, and that'll make up for losses in other places.
Right, right. And I also think it's hilarious that like this is such a 1%er idea, and they just made a movie in 2017 about how the 1% suck and they're selling weapons to the empire. And, I mean it's just so tone deaf. It's insane.
Yeah, Disney. I don't want to get into it, but yeah, Disney is making some really odd choices, and with the economy going the way it is right now, plus, so all their ticket prices are up just to get in the park to begin with. When Universal's Nintendo Park opens, it's gonna be a bloodbath for Disney.
Right. Well, the thing is I think Disney's getting lazy and everyone else is catching up.
Yeah.
In my opinion, in the streaming wars, I don't even think Disney Plus is the best streaming service right now.
Oh no.
In my opinion, I can't get enough of HBO Max. That's a personal thing for me. But even then, objectively, I think that Amazon Prime and Hulu are running circles around them.
Yeah, I agree. So, and since you brought up streaming, that's another issue that these Disney movies are having is in the past, these movies could make their money other places if their box office didn't hit, DVD sales and, licensing it out to TBS or TNT or Stars or whatever. Now, if them just going straight to Disney Plus, people aren't buying the DVDs. They're not getting this money from other companies. So they really have to have that box office hit hard. And if it misses, then that's kind of it for that movie.
Right.
So I think they're going to have to change their business model at some point to survive. Whether that be, maybe, the Marvel movie will come to Disney Plus, but it also goes to Stars. It'll have to go like to two places so they can at least make some more money from somewhere else. But who knows? All right, so let's get to our tier list. Get this started. Some of these movies, I'll be honest, I saw them in the theater. I never saw them again, so my memory is not. There's been so many of them, and so it's a little hazy. But we'll see how this goes. So, and we're just gonna go in order by release date.
Yeah.
So if you want to pull up the tier list and kind of just explain what you think the rankings mean.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you have it up on the screen?
Yes, it's now on screen.
Perfect. Okay, so we have S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier, Eternals tier, and Have Not Seen. So for me, in my opinion, S tier is reserved solely for the ones that honestly I could watch them every day and I'll never get sick of them. Like they're fantastic. For me, A tier is the ones that are absolutely above average. That they're ones that I always have a lot of fun, and I'll go back and rewatch them. I might watch them again in the theater. B tier are the most middle ground, the most average, is what I would say. C tier is below average. These are the ones that maybe I'd watch them once after they get back on Disney Plus or on DVD. D tier is for the ones that I'll probably only just watch in the theater, and unless I'm doing something like a project that involves the movie, I'd probably never watch it again. Eternals is reserved for Marvel's Eternals, and we'll get to that one. And then Have Not Seen is just because if I don't get to Thor: Love and Thunder, that's going to go here. Final Monkey has not seen
Three or four of them.
Yeah, three or four of them.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk about Iron Man.
Okay, so this is your list, right?
Sure, yeah. So for me, I think Iron Man is a great movie, but I think it was an even better movie 15 years ago. At this point, when we are comparing this movie, and I'm not saying that I'm giving like A, B, C. I'm not giving Iron Man a grade. I am saying where it fits in with all of these movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I think Iron Man 3 is, Iron Man 1, we'll get to 3, pretty middle of the road. I think it is B tier. I think it is a B for me is baseline. And so I think Iron Man, the original, is very much a baseline movie.
Okay. And these lists, they may change as we go through these. Like all of a sudden something might move.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and put Iron Man at A.
Okay.
I think it's a solid template for how to do these movies.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Maybe I was gonna say maybe the villain's a little weak, but he's what's his name? Bridges.
Jeff Bridges. Yeah.
Jeff Bridges. He's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm up for right now. I'm gonna put it to A. It might drop down to B as we go along, but right now I'm gonna put it at A.
Yeah. So then next, we're looking at the forgotten MCU film. This would be Edward Norton's Incredible Hulk. Now, for me, I like this movie. I like this movie a lot, actually. I think that Edward Norton is a better Hulk than Mark Ruffalo. And I think that in general, this is what Bruce Banner actually is, and I tend to like it more than most people. And I like it just about as much as the original Iron Man. So it's not above the original Iron Man. The original Iron Man is better. So I'm going to put it in B, but under the original Iron Man.
Okay. I think I've seen this a couple times. It's just been a long time, though.
Mm-hmm.
I think for right now, I'm going to rank it at C.
Sure.
It is nothing really wrong with the movie. I don't think they always get the Hulk's origin story correct all the time. So there's a couple of things like that. I'm a big Rick Jones fan, so when they leave him out, stuff like that irks me. For those that don't know, in the first story, Rick Jones is the reason Bruce becomes the Hulk. Rick had wandered into the nuclear or the gamma bomb test site on a dare, and Bruce pushed him out of the way heroically and got hit by the blast. So it's a good heroic story, and so I don't like it when it's just like, oh, he stepped into a chamber and sat in a chair and had a gamma testing, and oh no, something bad happened. I like the heroic element to Bruce.
Yeah, absolutely.
That self-sacrifice, and I feel like that's always been missing from these movies. So
definitely. I mean, honestly, I think the Hulk honestly hasn't ever properly been put on screen in any sense.
That Bill Bixby series is not bad. It's not. I mean, it is the Hulk. Don't make me angry. I'm gonna Hulk out, but I'm also gonna help people, and it's sad because I'm always on the run. I think that kind of got the nature of the character.
Yeah,
closer than the MCU movies have. So.
And I think Tim Roth is a great Abomination. I love him as Emil Blonsky.
Yeah, like I said, I don't hate this movie. I like the idea of what's his name, becoming the leader that they were hinting at in the movie.
Yeah. What's that?
I can't remember. Tim or something. What is his name?
Tim something. He's Buster Scruggs. That's how I know.
Yes, the Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Um,
All right, so let's move on
yeah.
to the next one.
Yeah. Now this one is gonna. I'm ready for the hate. All right. This is the one. Iron Man 2. I think Iron Man 2 is slightly better than the first one.
Okay.
The reason the reason for me, it really all comes down to Justin Hammer. I love Sam Rockwell. I'm a huge Sam Rockwell fan, and I just really enjoy watching him. I think the introduction to Black Widow is like classic. I do agree that it spends a little bit too much time with Nick Fury and setting up the Avengers. But I love this movie, and I like Whiplash more than Obadiah Stane.
Okay.
Like I said, I think it is slightly better in my opinion.
Yeah, and I totally disagree with Caleb. All he just said. That being said, everybody's gonna have a different ranking for these. I saw a ranking list yesterday that was crazy. They had Thor: Love and Thunder as their number one film, which that's whatever. But then they had like Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2 that like down in the 20s. And like Captain Marvel at number 10, just crazy stuff,
Yeah.
So it's going to happen that people have different tastes, different opinions, and that's fine. Iron Man 2 is a D for me.
It's a D?
Yeah. This movie should have been awesome. They should have done Demon in the Bottle, and they start to, and then they swerve off. And
yes, they do start to.
They start to, and then they go, "Oh, you're cured. Don't worry about it," or whatever. It's been a long time since I've seen this.
Mm-hmm.
But if he had been drunk and out of control and letting all the power go to his head, and then realizing, "Oh, I need help," it could have been just an incredible film.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. I think what would have made it a fantastic film is if because another name for this movie could be Iron Man and War Machine.
Yeah.
And so if you could really, it could have been a cool stepping stone to Tony realizing that he can't do it all by himself and that he needs help. And so then he starts to realize that he needs Rhodey's help, and that itself is a stepping stone to the Avengers.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree with that. So yeah. D tier though, like what is it that makes it like so low?
Well, I haven't seen it in years,
Okay.
So I mean that does not help. And I just remember just being like, "Ugh, what is this movie?" I just didn't like the movie when I saw it.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
So. And sometimes, as a comic reader, I get my expectations too high, and that probably is why Thor: Love and Thunder is so low on my.
Don't we all?
And it's just like simple storytelling things they could have done with Love and Thunder. Like they just did this, added this line, did that. It would be a much better movie, and they did.
Yeah.
So something broke somewhere in the making of that.
All right. So next, speaking of Thor, is actually going to be the very first Thor. Now, I love this movie. This movie is an A-tier movie for me. I'll rewatch this one. I love it. Now, I think that the casting in this film specifically is fantastic. I think Tom Hiddleston kills it as Loki. I think some of the best acting is whenever Loki is screaming at Odin to tell him the truth. Like it's heartbreaking. I guess really whenever it comes down to the Thor movies, is Loki is the star.
Definitely.
But even then, like, you have the Warriors 3 are like actual characters, and I think this is probably the
Oh,
best.
there is a part of the new movie that ticked me off so bad about the Warriors 3, and you'll
Don't
know it. You'll
don't tell me
you'll
that.
oh, I was
Don't tell me that.
mad.
Don't tell me that. But for the first Thor, they do the Warriors 3 very well.
Yeah, and even in Thor Dark World, if I recall, they're not terrible in that one either. I
No,
mean,
no,
they
not
they
at all.
actually they help, and they Taika Waititi.
I was really hoping that working with Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau on The Mandalorian, he would have like learned some stuff and like made Thor like a Star Wars movie or something. But it definitely sounds like he's leaning into the Spaceballs.
So I will say this: I found out about this new movie is like everybody's kids are in this movie. Christian Bale's kids, Taika Waititi's, Hemsworth's. I think Bob Chapek's grandson is in the movie. It's crazy. And so I think they were trying to do like more of a family film, and I think that kind of messed up the movie.
Does the comedy reflect that, or is it like dirty, raunchy comedy like it was in Ragnarok?
I mean, other than seeing Thor's butt, I mean, it's not too bad.
Okay.
I don't know. Well,
Anyway,
we gotta get back to this list. Yeah.
right. So yes, I love Thor. It's one of my favorites, and it also has "Walk" by Foo Fighters. So
All
always,
right.
always good.
So
For you, yes.
remind me what the tiers are. B is you said one was middle of the road.
That for me, B is middle of the road
I'll
average.
probably put Thor at A.
Okay. I assume below Iron Man for you.
Yeah, below
Okay.
Iron Man, but it's solid enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Cool. Captain America: The First Avenger. This one for me, I struggle with because I think it is a fantastic film that is brought down by a forced ending. I don't like it as much as Thor, but it's better than Iron Man 2. I just don't know whether or not to put it in B tier or A tier. We're gonna set it in. Oh, go ahead.
I would say I'm very similar to you on this movie.
Yeah. I'm optimistic, so I'm gonna set it in A, and hopefully I don't have to move it.
Okay, I think I'm gonna put mine in A also. That feels about right.
Yeah.
I think the movie kind of struggles when it gets montagey towards the end. I think it's like excellent up to that point, and once it goes montagey, then the movie starts to struggle at that point.
You know what it is? I've always told people this. I think this is a great movie up to the train scene.
Yeah, somewhere around there, the movie starts to fall apart.
Yeah, and then the whole I have to fly the plane into the. But wait, isn't there an autopilot on it? Like, it's
that, and I mean the plane thing is whatever. What annoys me is the montage thing is if Marvel was going to do something with that, great, but they kind of just wasted it. Like they could have said, "Oh, these other stories happened during this time period," and done other movies or stories, and they just never did.
Well, and the problem is they already did a montage early in the movie, and it was a better montage. Whenever he's doing his rounds with the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it's still a great movie. I love The Rocketeer, so I love this movie.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. Are we ready? Ladies and gentlemen, are we ready for another hot take?
Let's do it.
I think Marvel's Avengers is the best Power Rangers movie I've ever seen. Um,
Uh,
it's for me, it is the most nothing Avengers movie, in my opinion. Um, and I think that like it was fantastic when it came out because it was so cool to see all of our favorite characters come together, and now it happens all the time.
yeah. I'm torn on this one, whether it's a high B or a low A. We'll say high B for right now.
Yeah.
They kind of showed how to do these team up movies. It did give us Thanos at the end.
Yes.
Let Loki be a villain. The bad guys are generic. Even as a comic book fan, I still am not quite sure who they are. So
the
Chitauri or
yeah,
whatever.
they're the. So, are you familiar with the Ultimates?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know who they are.
Oh, okay. I mean, weirdest thing is, we have the Chitauri, and then we also have the Skrulls in the same universe. Whenever Chitauri are just Ultimate Skrulls.
Yeah,
it's really weird.
So I'll say this: if you're looking at my ranking right now, the 3 starter Avenger movies are all A tier, and I think they had to get those right for the rest of the movies to work. And so I think
so.
I think those are all 3 very. And you can see the Hulk didn't work, and we see his character doesn't quite work later on.
Yeah.
So that's just my opinion. So okay.
And then if you look at mine, because we're coming out of phase 1 at this point. I, for the most part, I like all of them. I'm a big fan. Some more so than others. I definitely think they got better as they went on. So yeah, phase 2. First one up is Iron Man 3.
And we know that you really like this movie.
Yeah.
Where is Iron Man 3? Don't see it. Is there more than one row down there?
No, there shouldn't be. And I definitely put Iron Man 3 on here. Oh, there it is.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah. So
all right.
I love Iron. And here's the thing, like, I put it up here almost as a meme at this point because I know I'm the only one that likes it. If I look at it with an objective eye, I still think it's an A tier. I'd still put it down here.
Okay.
But we're gonna leave it up here just because it's my favorite.
All right. I'd probably put it B tier under Avengers. It's fine.
Gotcha. Yeah, and one of the things that I always have to tell people is it hits my sensibilities. It's definitely a genre movie, and not everyone's gonna like the same genre that I do. So, okay, so we are getting into
Thor: The Dark World. We're in phase 2.
Yeah, we are at our first not great one. For me, this one is definitely C tier, in my opinion. I don't think it's horrible. I've definitely rewatched it. I think Loki is even better in this. Well, not even better. But I definitely think that this is a good character piece, honestly, for Thor, Jane, and Loki. Of course, where it really, really sags is I don't think Darcy works in this movie. Kat Dennings' character, I don't think she works. And of course, Malekith is like not even in the movie. Like, he's in the movie and he has a lot of screen time, but like he's like not even there.
He's just phoning it in.
Yeah.
I would be tempted to put this at C, but I think because of Ragnarok, I have to put it at D.
Okay.
You can put it above Iron Man 2 for just the Loki stuff and Warriors 3 stuff. But I think the way this movie ended was like, oh, cool, Loki's ruling Asgard. I can't wait to see what he's going to do with it. And then you get to Ragnarok, and it's just like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of like, oh, cool. Thor's going off the Guardians of the Galaxy. I can't wait to see what they do with that. Oh.
Yeah, it's definitely a if how I like a movie depends on its sequel, it's not a good movie. I've discovered. Like Prometheus is one of my favorite films of all time, and then Alien Covenant came out, and I haven't seen Prometheus since. Like,
well, this is the Force Awakens problem, but oh, Luke, awesome! I can't see what happens. Oh,
yeah,
you know.
I stand by. I think that the Force Awakens better ending would have ended with him throwing the lightsaber, like just end with that instead of starting with it. I think that would have been awesome. Anyway, next
audience
up,
would be so confused.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the audience would be like, what?
We're gonna. I think that we all know where this movie belongs. This is Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Eternals tier? No.
No. This movie belongs in S tier. Iron Man 3 is my favorite, but I can still acknowledge that Captain America: Winter Soldier is a fantastic movie. It's got even the naming is brilliant, because what do people do? They see Captain America: The Winter Soldier, and like, oh, the Winter Soldier, I wonder who he is. They Google Winter Soldier and like, oh, the Winter Soldier's Bucky. And so then they go to the movie, they think they know the twist, and it's revealed that it's Bucky pretty early on.
Yeah.
And the naming convention is to hide the actual twist of Hydra being S.H.I.E.L.D. I think it's brilliant.
You could say the same thing about Thor: Love and Thunder. You think you know why it's called that, you don't. So there you go.
This just in, he just compared Thor: Love and Thunder to Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Yeah, they're on par with each other. I'll go ahead and throw this in S tier. It may end up getting pushed down to A tier if it gets too crowded in S tier, but yeah, okay. This is definitely like the best of the Marvel universe.
Okay. Now I'm not going to talk too much about this next one. I'm going to let you take point on this, but I think we're going to agree on where this goes. This is definitely S tier for me. Below Winter Soldier, in my opinion. But yeah, you go ahead and take point on this one.
It's S tier for me also, above Winter Soldier. This is the movie that should not work at all.
Mm-hmm.
I had high hopes for it when it was announced, but only because I was reading the comic book at the time. But everybody's like, no, this will never work. And now these are some of the most beloved characters in the MCU.
Like, absolutely.
Just for them, because even the comic books, these were not well-known characters. I mean, maybe Drax and Gamora, but they were still like C tier. They're way down there.
Yeah.
But just for them to make this to work and make it work so well, such a strong emotional story. Is it perfect? No, I think it falls apart when it gets a little montagey towards the end. And it's like the movie kind of loses me for a minute when Cherry Bomb starts playing and they start making the Nova Shield to stop the ships and stuff. But then it kind of pulls me back in when the Groot sacrifice happens, and then that dance off at the end is so freaking good.
It's amazing.
When they yell they're the Guardians of the Galaxy and destroy Ronan, it's like, probably if we did a list of favorite Marvel scenes, I mean, that's definitely, if it's not number one, it's definitely the top three. It's way up there.
Yeah.
And the way that these people do not get along, and then they're all holding hands as a family, knowing that they may die in that blast. It's so good. It's freaking fantastic. So, yes. Yeah, definitely S tier.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah, I've always said that we don't get anything else in the MCU until Guardians of the Galaxy. I think Guardians of the Galaxy really opened up the floodgates for putting the absolute most colorful, ridiculous stuff that you can get on screen. Like that's why I say that like people are upset about the Mandarin. The Mandarin wouldn't have worked in Iron Man 3 when it came out because Guardians of the Galaxy hadn't come out yet.
Yeah, I agree. I could see that.
Yeah, like Guardians of the Galaxy opened the door for everything else.
Yeah, it's a game changer. I think 3 is going to be a game changer also, and I think that's why the current MCU movies are not doing great because they're waiting for that to release Guardians 3, which has been delayed so much.
I also think it's funny that, it'll be a game changer, but it's also his last one.
I hope that he does more Marvel movies after this, but I could definitely see it being that's it. He's kind of gone back and forth. He's playing it very quiet whether or not this is the last one.
Yeah,
it's definitely the last one for Batista. He's done, which is fine because if you've read the comic books, Drax will, if you injure him enough, his body kind of acts like a cocoon and it'll break open. And there's a new Drax with a different body inside.
Yeah.
So if they want to recast him, fine. I mean, it's easy. It's in the comics. It's really easy to recast him. So.
Yeah. All right. So next up is Avengers: Age of Ultron. Now, for me, this is my favorite Avengers movie. And I know that's a very unpopular opinion. I think it's probably one of the best in the cinematic universe. So we're actually going to put it below Guardians and above Iron Man 3. So yes, hot take again. Age of Ultron for me is S tier. And I love Spader's Ultron. It really introduces a lot. And I love the twins. Like, it's no secret that I am a huge Scarlet Witch fan, but I love Aaron Taylor Johnson's Quicksilver too. I think Evan Peters is still better, but I think Evan Peters kind of overshadows Aaron Taylor Johnson to the point where people forget about how good his Quicksilver is.
And let's put a pin in that to talk about after you see Thor next week. Just remind me, Quicksilver.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean he's not in the movie or anything, but just kind of the talk of should Quicksilver come back?
Yes.
And does that cheapen death in the MCU?
No.
And okay, but we'll talk about after you see Thor.
All right. Yeah.
For me, I've heard that this movie gets better if you watch it as a trilogy with Infinity War and Endgame.
I think so.
That being said, I've maybe seen it a couple of times. It's probably B tier above the other Avengers for me.
Okay.
It's fine. Ultron's cool, and I like Vision, but I think Vision gets better as the movies go on. It's fine.
Yeah. Like it's one of my favorites. We definitely have very, very different lists already.
Yeah, we haven't even got to the controversial ones yet.
Yeah. So next up is Ant-Man. I think Ant-Man is very serviceable. I'm going to put it right here. I think Ant-Man is a perfectly fine movie. It is a lot of fun, and I enjoy when I watch it. And there's not really a whole lot to say after that.
I would probably put Ant-Man probably bottom A tier.
Okay.
It may fall down to B eventually, but right now, I really like Hank Pym. So it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun getting him introduced and saying, "Oh no, he's been around. They're not ignoring him. He's actually been involved in the Marvel Universe." I wish Janet would have a bigger role. I mean, she does show up again later, but um, because to me, you can't really do Avengers without Ant-Man and Wasp. So it's cool that they finally got to them. It's a shame they're not in the original Avengers movie. I think Wasp came pretty close to making it.
Yes,
but yeah, and it's an entertaining. It's not perfect, but it's a solid little entertaining movie.
Yeah. Yep.
I can rewatch it. It's rewatchable.
It's hard to complain about,
Yeah.
So that is the end of phase 2. Do you want to do the first 2 of phase 3 then?
Yeah, let's go a little bit. We'll go a little bit further.
Cool. So next one, the first of phase 3 is Captain America: Civil War. In my opinion, I think that Civil War is the best that the MCU has ever gotten in terms of films. So for me, there's not going to be a movie any higher than Civil War. If you want to know the number one, that's it right there for me. I think Civil War is brilliant. And what should tip you off is there's a scene where all of these heroes that we've seen up to this point fight each other in this airport. Spider-Man's there too. Like, they introduced Spider-Man and Black Panther, and these characters are so cool. And guess what? That's the most uninteresting scene in the movie. That should speak volumes for the rest of the movie. I love this movie so much. The Winter Soldier character for me is so interesting. I love Bucky Barnes, and so the twists and turns, and see, for me, up until this point, I'm like, okay, Obadiah killed Howard Stark. Like, I always assumed that. It never occurred to me that that's not what happened. And then this movie shows me what happens. And it's absolutely heartbreaking. And when Tony says, "I'm sorry, Cap, but he killed my mom," oh man, that hits me.
Yeah. So I'll say this. Out of all the Marvel trilogies we've had, Captain America trilogy is definitely tops.
Oh, absolutely.
Guardians of the Galaxy may beat that. We'll see.
Hopefully.
But yeah, this is a solid film, but I'm actually going to put this at the top of A.
Okay.
It's so close to being on the S list.
Okay.
I feel like it's almost right there. And I almost feel like this movie goes on just a little bit too long.
I can see that. Yes.
Like, maybe it should have ended after the airport, or I don't know. When I guess that final act of Zemo, and the fight between Cap and Iron Man and Winter Soldier is fantastic. I don't hate the movie. It's on my A tier. It's right there.
Yeah.
I just think that there's better MCU films.
Yeah. So for me, I definitely see where you're coming from with the because I definitely agree that it definitely feels a little long, but whenever I go through it, I can't pick out a single thing to cut. Like,
yeah,
it's one of those where I'm like, okay, so this movie is too long, but I can't cut anything. So
yeah, and let's go through Spider-Man. We'll stop at Spider-Man: Homecoming today.
Yeah, sure. So next up is Doctor Strange. Ooh, the first one. So for me, the first Doctor Strange, I think it is the very top of B tier for me. I think it is a visual spectacle that is brought down by one of the most uninteresting villains in the MCU. And the fact that, like, they do next to nothing with one of my favorite villains in the MCU being Dormammu. but I very much enjoy this. I think Baron Mordo is fantastic, and I wish more would have been done with him because as far as I can tell, I think he's actually dead in the main universe now
Well,
too.
I think since they cut that scene, I think he's alive. Since it
Okay.
didn't happen on screen, because Wanda was supposed to kill him.
Yes.
There's some similar cut stuff from the new Thor movie. We'll talk about that next week.
Okay.
Of some characters that were supposed to die, and they cut those scenes. Yeah, I think it would have been a mistake to kill Baron Mordo. He's super interesting. I'm hoping they're setting up Dormammu to come back in part 3, or him to show up again as some type of big bad at some point.
Yeah, because at the end of Multiverse of Madness, Clea and Doctor Strange go into the Chaos Dimension, right? Or the Dark Dimension.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Chaos Dimension, Shuma-Gorath.
Yeah, so it's hard to tell with the Marvel Universe because you watch Captain America 1, you're like, oh, Red Skull's going to be back. And he does come back eventually, but not as a Captain America villain. It's kind of weird,
Yeah.
because you say, oh, yeah, well, Captain America 3, by then Red Skull will be back and it'll be awesome. And he never shows up, in those movies again. So that, there are always these little missed opportunities. Like I would have liked to have seen Iron Man and Mandarin fight at some point, and we'll never get that, it seems like, so just little things.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange, I'm torn whether it goes on A or B. Let's put it under Ant-Man for right now.
Yeah. That's where I was at, because there's something keeping it out of A tier for me, but I can't place my finger on it. But there's just something.
I think the bad guy, I can't think of his name, is kind of bland.
I don't know. It starts with a K.
But the things it's setting up with Baron Mordo and the way he beats Dormammu is a lot of fun.
Yes, that is brilliant. I love it.
So I think that scene alone is what makes me move it up to A.
Okay,
if they didn't have that scene, it would probably be a B.
Yeah. Have you seen the Doctor Strange animated film that came out before the first Iron Man movie?
Probably. I don't remember it. But
okay. Probably. I think that's better than this.
That's kind of how I am with the Hellboy cartoon movies. I'm like, these are better than the actual movies. So, yeah.
What do we have next? Guardians 2?
Yeah.
Guardians 2, this one's interesting for me because when this movie first came out, I hated this movie so much. I thought that we were just retreading Guardians 1. I didn't think that Ego is an interesting villain. I still don't think Ego is an interesting villain. But there was just there was so much that I hated it going for it, and then I never watched it again. I watched it again right before Endgame came out, and it's got the biggest jump for me. I think this is absolutely A tier. The only thing keeping it out of S tier is I still don't think that Ego is a very interesting villain.
So I'll ask you this, and I'm not her biggest fan, but have you seen Lindsay Ellis's review of this movie?
I haven't. I do like Lindsay Ellis. I don't know if that's going to get me canceled or not, though.
I know she's controversial, and the way I feel about people like that is you can like certain things they've done, but not like everything they've done, or not support everything they stand for, or whatever. I don't know all her details. Her review on that is very interesting.
Okay. How does she feel about it?
I think she says her favorite Marvel film.
Okay.
I'm going to put it above Guardians of the Galaxy on S tier.
Oh, really? Okay.
I really like this movie a lot. And I hear complaints, and then I'm kind of like, did you watch the same movie I watched? And I don't know, maybe I'm reading more into the scenes than what's there. People are like, oh, Drax, I just didn't get him this movie. And I'm like, are you serious? When Mantis touches him and just starts crying because she feels the pain that he's hiding, it's fantastic. It's so good. I'm such a huge fan of Mantis and these characters, and Nebula just gets better and better in these movies.
Absolutely, yes.
She's a lot of fun, and it continues everything that was cool in Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and just keeps it going and amps it up. And the sacrifice at the end and that funeral scene where all the people, I get chills thinking about it, where all the people who had initially rejected Yondu for getting into human trafficking or whatever, and then you find out that he couldn't go through with it and deliver Quill to who was it that one? I can't even remember now. It's been a little bit. But anyways, it's just great. when Kraglin is just like, yeah, at the end, because they're all coming to celebrate him, celebrate the captain, and Taserface is hilarious.
So I think Taserface is the best is the best version of that joke, because we all have that joke of like, what, Iron Man? That's not a good name. Or what, Spider-Man? Does he have 8 arms or something? No. Like we do that joke too much. I think Taserface is the best one because Taserface is actually a bad name.
It's great. They're setting up Adam Warlock at the end, and they're, it's just all the stuff is getting set up, and it just improves so much on, like I said, just continuing what that first movie did. And I get people are like, oh, the Rocket's a little bit too slapsticky when he's fighting all the Ravagers. Whatever. The scene with Yondu and them doing the breakout and just using the arrow just to kill everybody while the music's playing.
It's great.
It's fantastic. This is just a fantastic film.
Yeah.
It's not my number one, but it's close.
Like I said, the only thing keeping it out of S tier for me is ego. But I know even that is a controversial opinion on my part. I'm not. I saw this one episode of Law and Order SVU, and John Stamos was in it, and he's the same as Ego. So whenever I see Ego, all I see is John Stamos in Law and Order SVU.
There you go.
that's what the long answer of why Guardians 2 is not in S tier is because of John Stamos. And so the last one we're going to cover today is Homecoming.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think of where I'm going to put this.
I don't know. This is Shang-Chi. Oh, not yet. We'll get there. That's exciting. This is hard for me. This is so difficult.
Yeah.
I'm trying to decide if it's better than Doctor Strange. It's better than Doctor Strange because it's got Vulture as the villain. That's what it's got going for it. And I don't think that Tony Stark intrudes like too much in this movie. Because Peter is in the wrong whenever Tony shows up, and the movie knows that. So this is the Spider-Man movie that has Tony in it, where Tony does not intrude too much. That is what I'll say. Now for you,
I don't know. Let's put it between Ant-Man and Doctor Strange just for right now.
Okay.
And the only reason I'll rank it that high is just for the car scene with Michael Keaton and Peter Parker.
Yeah, that's what I always think about.
I don't like this trope that they were doing at the time in the comic books and other things of making Spider-Man like Iron Man Jr. and this even in the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon where they're trying to get like a shield agent and give him all his tech and stuff. I'm like, that's not Spider-Man. Unless he's building stuff himself, it's not Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But I think right there, like I said, this and Doctor Strange could easily drop down to the B category if I decided to.
Yeah.
You know.
I think what does it for me, because I used to put Spider-Man: Homecoming in B tier, but what really does it for me is No Way Home came out and showed me that Iron Man Jr. is not what he will always be.
Oh, I was going to say that Far From Home fixes a lot of these problems.
No Way Home.
Or no, I'm sorry, No Way Home. You're right.
No, Far From Home makes those problems worse.
No, yeah, you're right. I get those movies mixed up all the time. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
No Way Home fixes Spider-Man so much in the MCU. It's unbelievable how much it fixes it. It's kind of like, okay, now we can start the story when that movie ends. It's like all these 5-6 appearances have been the prelude. Now we can actually start.
Right. It is the most convoluted Spider-Man origin ever. You know what I'm reminded of is whenever Bendis decided to do the Spider-Man origin in 6 issues for Ultimate Spider-Man, they're like, you're going to turn a 14-page comic into 6 issues? Wow, it's going to be a lot of filler. They should have said to John Watts, you're going to make 14 pages into 3 movies.
Yeah. It's almost like, did you ever... Well, I mean, it's not going to be quite the same, but read like Spider-Man Chapter 1 by John Byrne.
No, I haven't.
I just remember it was a mess. You know, he was trying to tie all these things together, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
Like Peter was trying to buy a computer, and the burglar saw him buying the computer, so that's why he came to the house. You know, it's just all the weird stuff and whatever. That's a whole side tangent. Okay, so our lists are pretty different.
Yep.
They're only going to get more different next week. I can almost guarantee that.
Because that's whenever you're going to start using the have not seen folder.
Well, that because I haven't seen Black Widow, Captain Marvel, and Eternals, so it's just 3.
Okay.
So it's not going to be that bad. But I think that our opinions are going to be quite different on some of the remaining films.
I already see 2.
Yeah.
Because I know your favorite one is not my favorite one.
Yeah.
And I know a certain king of a sovereign nation is not one of your favorites, and it's one of mine.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting next week. And when we're done, we'd love to hear the audience's list of how they rank stuff. Because, like I said, everybody's gonna have it's 28 movies. It's gonna be surprising if someone has the same exact list as you.
Yeah. Comment your hate. Come on, just give it to me. I know that you think this is a bad list on my part. Just give it to me. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, these will be very interesting when we're done next week. All right, so we're running a little long, so let's get to Turbulence 3 Heavy Metal. In our segment, He Made Me Do It. This is where we take turns making each other watch films or read books or just whatever, just something the other person has not seen. I picked, and we're doing the Summer of Stinkers, where these are movies that are not great, but maybe they're still fun. So I picked Turbulence 3 Heavy Metal. This is a movie that I was on a trip with my brother, and we saw this while we were in a hotel room. Actually, I don't think I've seen the whole movie. I think I missed like the first 20 minutes, but it's insane. So Caleb, you just saw the movie, so your memory of this is going to be a little bit better than mine. Tell us about Slade Craven and Turbulence 3 Heavy Metal.
I'm gonna open this up with a ponderance question. We're gonna start off with some philosophy.
Okay. All right.
That question is, what did you just make me watch?
So while watching this, me and my brother, we kept going, what just happened? Why did that happen? What?
So I'm trying to figure out the best way to put this. Like if I could describe this movie in one sentence, it would be like Air Force One with Spinal Tap.
With Marilyn Manson?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
The brief synopsis is Slade Craven is doing a concert on a plane,
right,
and
yeah,
they're going to be broadcast online. And there's an evil cult of terrorists that are trying to, if they get the viewer count up so high and crash the plane into Kansas, they could start at the end of the world or something. Was that right?
yeah,
And there's a
yes,
hacker involved, and he's trying to help them fly. It's a mess.
yeah, and Rutger Hauer is in it for
Yes.
some reason. Do you know? I have to question if there's this thing that these Oscar-winning actors have to do. Because there is another Oscar-winning actor that has done something similar to this, which is an Oscar-winning actor having no place being in a direct-to-video sequel to an already not great film. It reminds me of Malcolm McDowell.
Oh yeah, I think of the guy from the Lord of the Rings and Indiana Jones movies, Gimli. I can't think of the actor's name, but he's always popping up in these movies.
Yeah, John Reese something. I don't know how to
Yeah,
pronounce it.
yeah.
But Malcolm McDowell was in the fifth Home Alone movie.
Well, and here's what happens to these actors, and they are great actors.
Yes, they are.
They win an Oscar, and that doesn't really get you a lot of money when you win an Oscar. So now you have this reputation, though, of, oh, he's an Oscar winner. We'll never get him for our movie. And these people still have to pay their mortgage. So now it's like, oh, well, I'll do anything. If anybody asks me, I got to do it because I got bills to pay.
Yeah.
So I think this is what happens to a lot of these actors. People just think, oh, I'll never be able to get that person for their movie because they don't ask. And so these lower tier movies are like, oh, hey, will you be our movie? And he's like, I pay my house payment, sure. You know? So I think that's what happens with these guys.
So Gabrielle Anwar is also in this film. She's always great because I grew up watching Burn Notice, and I always thought she was really hot, and so it was cool to like be 12-year-old Caleb again and see Gabrielle Anwar. And so like there comes a point where it reminds me of Airplane because like there's no pilot, and so this guy Slade Craven, which what a name. I mean, hey, who is like the coolest Teen Titans villain? Slade. Who is the coolest Spider-Man? Craven. Slade Craven. That's our guy's name.
And he kind of looks like the Crow, so maybe they stole it from like, oh, Raven, Crow, Slade Craven. Okay, here,
Yeah, sure,
you know?
yeah. I don't know if they put that much thought into this movie, but sure.
But just the imagery of he's fighting against this demonic cult, and then he has to land a plane, and he grabs onto the little cross pendant on his neck because he's restoring his faith that he needs to call on a higher power while he's trying to land this plane. It's so ridiculous.
You know what? If this movie brought you closer to God, good for you. I'm so happy for you. Absolutely. And like he fights another one of the guys, but like while the plane is on a nosedive. And it's and then the movie just sort of ends.
Yeah, she's like, let's go get pizza or so. I can't remember what
Yeah.
she said or something. Then it's like, oh, she's hitting on him, and I don't remember. Yeah, I think when Rutger Hauer explained what the plot was, that's why I was like, oh, this movie's special.
It's I
When he's like, we're gonna crash the plane into Kansas to start the rise of the Antichrist or whatever. You're just like, what?
yeah,
It's the most evil place on earth. The Pope won't even visit it. Stole Kansas. You're like, what?
yeah, I mean, like, you got Blade Runner disappearing like tears in rain. Then this movie.
Okay, so you know what? I just pulled up. I take back everything I just said. I pulled up Stole, Kansas on Wikipedia, and it says the town has become infamous due to an apocryphal legend that claims the nearby Stole Cemetery is possessed by demonic forces. So this is all real. This is probably a true story, and they covered it up.
So they put thought into this movie. I don't believe it. And you know what? This was like, I'm gonna go ahead and guess that you and Tim saw this movie on like Spike TV or something. Like,
oh yeah, it had to be something like that.
It's one of those movies. Like this is your Sci-Fi Channel G4.
Or like one of the Stars, like Stars 3 or something Stars right. Action or something.
It's not good enough for Stars 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I definitely only recognize so really the only name in this movie is Rutger Hauer. I know Gabrielle Anwar because of Burn Notice. There's no one else in this movie.
Yeah, no. Joe Montagna, the FBI agent. He's from Criminal Minds. He's been in a bunch of movies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything I've seen, and I've got a picture of him right now. I'm trying to think if there's. No, I don't think I've seen anything he's been in. Which lets people know that I've never seen The Godfather Part 3, but I don't think that people are going to be upset about that. But yeah,
it's a crazy film.
This is a movie. I honestly, I think that this is a great movie to watch if you haven't seen the first two, because I haven't seen the first two.
Doesn't matter.
I'd never heard of it. I
think it's a fun bad movie because you'll be watching this going, what is happening? You're not going to be bored watching this.
No, I definitely was not bored. That is true. Wow, what an adventure we had today, talking about Turbulence 3.
So I will say this: they only get worse from here. This is one of the better ones.
Oh, good. Because I have a doozy for you.
All right. So, are we done talking about heavy metal?
I mean, I can talk about this all day.
I could too, because, like I said, that speech by Rutger Hauer, and then he just shoots himself in the head. You're like, what? What is happening?
I'm like Captain America. I could do this all day.
You broke up a little bit there, but yeah, Captain America can do this all day. Yeah,
I could do this all day.
And I just remember some scene where they're like, "Oh, we got to contact the control tower." Also, the control tower just explodes. So you're like, "What is happening?"
Yes. That honestly, that I started audibly laughing whenever that happened.
Oh, we were too. We were cracking up, dying.
It gave me an idea for another movie to make you watch. I have to see if it's streaming anywhere. But there was a film that I saw with my best friends, and we were in the movie theater watching it. Something similar to the control tower happens, and in the movie theater, we start laughing harder than we've ever laughed before.
And I will say this: there is a pretty big, well, I say pretty big. There is a fan base for Slade Craven out there of girls that are just in love with Slade Craven. So
that, you know what, that doesn't surprise me. There I would assume that these are the same girls who worked at Hot Topic
Oh yeah,
and came over to hit on me when I was working at the Chick-fil-A in the mall during their lunch break.
there you go. All right, Turbulence 3 Heavy Metal, incredible film if you have not seen it. Just for this movie exists, what the heck is happening? You know, it's wild. All right, like I said, you think you've seen every, someone takes over a plane movie before? No, you haven't. This is
Yeah.
something. This is a twist on it. So, all right. So now that I have tortured Caleb with Turbulence 3, Caleb, I think I can guess what you're going to say, but go ahead.
You know exactly what I'm going to say. I'm going to make you watch a movie that I think is bad. It's boring. It's not an enjoyable experience at all. And I want you to be able to use the slot that I have made for it on our tier list. So I'd like you to watch Marvel's Eternals.
All right, I'll watch it. I've been curious about this movie, anyways.
Oh,
just for the world building it does.
Sure.
Oh, I misspelled it. Darn it. Hold on.
So the funny thing about Eternals is me and my brother, we saw this in the movie theater the last day it was in the theater. Because like people talk about how bad it was and we just never saw it. But then we're like, wait a second, we got this Marvel streak going where like we've seen every Marvel film in the movie theater since 2008. We have to keep this streak alive. And they're like, where are you going? Like, we're going to go see Eternals. Today's the last day, but it comes on Disney Plus on Tuesday. I'm like, the streak must be kept. And so we paid money to watch this movie whenever we could have watched it for free in like 4 days.
There is another YouTube channel that I kind of watch. And again, people have different tastes. It's fine. John Campea show I've watched every once in a while for the news, and Eternals is one of his favorite Marvel movies.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that I trust that really enjoy Eternals, and I don't get it.
If I come back next week and Eternals does not end up in the Eternals.
Yeah, you're cutting out.
Oh, if I come back next week and Eternals does not go in the Eternals rank, will it break the show?
It might cause a convergence.
Some trust issues between us.
Perhaps. What was it called in Multiverse Event? Was it Convergence?
I think that's what they call it in Secret Wars when they could start converging.
Yeah, it's definitely like 616 is going to cross over with the Ultimate Universe. Zombies are going to show up.
In Infinity War, if the portal had or at Endgame, if the portal had opened and Slade Craven had walked out, that's what this would cause. That'd be like in Eternals.
Right. Honestly, I'm more curious if there's a Marvel movie that you're gonna hate more than it. I don't think so. I
think we've hit the ones that are low on my tiers, and like I said, I haven't seen Cap. I think we've hit like the ones where I'm like, oh, these are the worst I've seen.
So you're telling me that if it's worse than Iron Man 2, it's your least favorite?
Yeah, I'd say so.
I definitely think it. I mean, I like Iron Man 2, of course, but I would definitely be surprised if you like this more than Iron Man 2.
Okay, and we'll see. I mean, there are some of the higher concepts in Marvel comics I really like the when Thanos is dealing with the other gods, Infinity Gauntlet and stuff. That stuff always interests me. So we'll see how Eternals works out. But I have never been a fan of the Eternals comics. I've tried to read the Neil Gaiman stuff. I have never liked these characters.
Somehow they made something worse than the Inhumans TV show.
All right. So I can't wait for next week when I give you the movie you have to watch after this. Like I said, the rest of my list are all doozies. There's one I'm trying to find if it's streaming anywhere that we have to do, and that might be like the last one on my list. But yeah, so the Summer of Stinkers continues. Eternals next week. I don't know why you would want to watch that with me, but I'm watching Eternals this week if you want to watch it and share your opinions if you've never seen it. All right, so I think that's going to wrap up the show tonight. So we will continue the tier list next week. It's going to get, our opinions are going to be way different on some of these. I'll just say that.
Yeah. Contrast, we've done most of the ones that I like already.
And we're about to hit some more of my S tier ones that we haven't gotten to yet. So, yeah, it's going to be different.
Yes.
So tune in next week, 6 o'clock Eastern for next week's episode. We will continue this list. Until then, I have been Final Monkey.
And I'm Caleb.
We will talk to you then. Bye.
See you.